Welcome back to the Connected podcast. I'm thrilled to bring you an extraordinary collection in which some incredible students take the driver's seat and host dynamic conversations with professionals from across the higher education sector, discussing the vital topic of student belonging. In our first episode, hosted by Louise Salter, we speak to Faiza Inamdar. Hailing from India, Faiza is a psychology undergraduate at King's College London, currently on her placement year as the Belonging and Engagement Project Officer in the B at King's team. For Faiza, student wellbeing isn't just a concept, it's a commitment.
So, interested in you as well. You're doing psychology and you're on your placement year. So I was just thinking psychology is such a broad subject, isn't it? And you could probably do your placement year in so many different places. What motivated you to do your placement working in student belonging at King's?
That's an amazing question, and I could speak on it for a long time, but I'll try to give you as short an answer as possible. So, when I was applying to university, my goal to study psychology, the thing that drew me to psychology, was understanding well-being and mental health in general, coming from my own personal experiences as a student, and I was able to thrive in my student journey because of the help I had. On a more emotional and mental health level. So I was always motivated to support other students and young adults who are going through key transitions in their life. When you enter university, you're just turning 18, you're becoming an adult, taking control of your life. And that's what drew me to student well-being in general. And more so, the reason I wanted to study it in the UK as well, because the conversation here is a lot more ahead compared to some of the other countries in the world. And I was quite motivated by bringing these learnings to an Indian context and learning how different institutions respond to students' needs and their concerns as they go through the journey of being a student, along with having a life. And I noted that not a lot of the times we don't talk about students' lives outside of their academic journeys and their career progressions. They have a life with their parents, friends, relationships, everything. So I'm quite motivated to try and find ways in which the educational policies can be structured to put student well-being at the heart of everything, not just their academic success, but also their social, emotional, and mental well-being from a more global perspective. And that's what drew me to this role, because this is very much about students' sense of belonging, their sense of community, which is something that we all talk about now.
Brilliant. Yeah, sounds like you've got a lot of empathy for the students coming in, so they can relate to you and you can relate to them. That's really good. So can you tell us about the Be at King's project? What inspired it? What's it about?
Okay. So give a bit of a background. Post-COVID world, a lot of the universities in the UK have been talking about how campus engagement has reduced. Students are not coming to campus as often. More things have shifted online as well, and commuter students are also increasing. And with all of this, student loneliness is also increasing. So a lot of the conversation now surrounds around how students are not engaging as much, and belonging has known to be a factor that plays a role in all of this in terms of student success and student loyalty to the university, chances of retention and completing your degree. All these kind of factors are linked to belonging. So belonging's become like the it term.
The key word.
The key word, yes. So obviously, King's was also thinking of how do we build belonging at our university, at our campus, especially being a London university spread across 5 different campuses all across the city with no campus housing as such, because we're a city university. The struggle was there. So with that, we then started thinking about what actually does it mean to belong, so that we can move ahead from there. But then we realized, well, belonging means something different to everyone. We don't really have a definition of what it means. It could mean different things to different people. So we thought, when we don't know what it means, let's ask the people whom we're trying to cater to who would better know the needs of a community than the community itself, right? So
Yeah.
that's how Be It Kings came into existence. That was the core inspiration behind it. And the project eventually launched in 2023 with a call for ideas. And then we had about like 200 plus ideas,
Wow.
which then translated to 27 applications where we asked staff and students themselves to submit an application of an idea, a problem that they're trying to solve that relates to student engagement and sense of belonging, and a rough plan for what they want to do. And we had small and large fundings of £1,000 and £4,000. Ultimately, with panel discussions and everything, we selected 9 projects, and the Be It Kings team supports the running and execution of these projects, along with the evaluations of the projects, but all the while keeping the project leads, who are both staff and students, as the core organizers and the credit bearers of the project. And we're just like a support system for them. So yeah, that's Be It Kings.
Wow. Wowee, that's really amazing. So why is belonging really important for student success in the context of higher education?
That is a very interesting question. I would take it a step back a little bit, and instead of going to the level of student success, I'd say just let's think about why belonging matters in higher education.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is we all want our students to have a good university experience. We all want them to go out of the university having gained value in different aspects of their life, not just academic, right? We want an all-rounded student development. And with the way we as humans work, belonging is one of our basic needs, as we've seen in what's known as the Maslow's hierarchy, where belonging is quite one of the very basic needs. So we do want to be part of a community. We want to come together. We want to not just live in isolation, but be with other people. Humans are social animals ultimately. But then putting that in the context of higher education, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And that's where belonging becomes a challenge. So just to highlight some of the work that my supervisor, Dr. Nicola Byron, is doing, she's working on figuring out how different people measure belonging and what it means to different universities. And in her work, about 380 papers that she has gone through, she found that 198 different measures were used to measure belonging.
Oh, wow.
And 76% of them were used only once. So we have no coherence.
It's still quite abstract.
Yes, we have no coherence of what it means. So I don't think we are yet, as a sector, ready to understand why belonging matters in the context of higher education, because we still don't understand what belonging means, and let alone make larger understandings about student success and student retention. I also don't think that belonging can be very easily defined. And I do think that we need to start looking at it as a more multifaceted aspect. And when something is so basic, like belonging, when it's such a basic need, it usually tends to be a lot more complicated than it appears to be on the surface.
Yeah.
So I think, that's where it comes in picture with the higher education, where if we want students to have a well-rounded experience of their university, their community is going to matter, and how they engage with that community is what we're trying to answer.
Yeah, it's like the platform for being able to engage and progress and develop, I suppose. Yeah. So have you met many challenges? What sort of challenges do you face? What barriers are there when you're trying to create student belonging?
That's quite a useful question, actually. It's one of the key things that we were trying to learn throughout this process is what are the major challenges and how do we deal with them, especially thinking from a scalability and sustainability perspective for each of the projects. So, like I said, there were 9 projects that are ultimately, some of them are finished, some of them are still running, and each tackles a different problem. Like, for example, we have a community fridge program, which aims to help reduce cost of living for students by offering free food and reduce food waste on campus. We have a free breakfast every Friday that offers students free breakfast in the morning, so they don't have to skip their meal, and a chance to come together and meet people. There is an art club where every other Tuesday, students and staff members can come together, do some painting, drawing, whatever form of art they like, and meet new people and kind of have a nice, soothing, relaxing space out of their studies and work. We did a writing retreat where PhD students were taken to a place outside of London for a couple of days. There was a hike, there was dedicated writing time where you engage with your peers and increase your motivation and productivity basically through peer support and learning some new writing techniques. So like you can see, everything deals with something different.
Yeah.
Some of them are catered more to staff, some catered more to students, some to both. So unlike any other project or like a regular campaign where all your communications are targeted to just spreading one thing, our situation was a little different where we were doing different comms for different things because different activities had different target groups. So our communications had to go to particular target groups for particular things. And that was one of the major challenges, creating the awareness of something is happening on campus, especially with such a large university like King's, where so many things are constantly happening and staff and student emails are flushed with the number of things happening every week, every day for that matter. That was one of our key difficulties, is reaching out to people and saying, hey, look, we're doing something and you can come and join. So eventually, we had quite a good learning for this from the breakfast that we ran. And throughout the first term, we noticed that this was a challenge. And in the second term, what we did was we started using existing networks. So we have different departments that are very heavy on student engagement, like King's Volunteering, King's Climate and Sustainability. They're very heavily engaged with students already. Then we have a lot of different student groups that sit under King's College London's Student Union. So we started reaching out to these groups that already have an established network. And we invited them to the breakfast venues to host a stall. For example, with IOPPN Student Association, which is one of the student associations for one of the 9 faculties at King's, they hosted a meet and greet kind of breakfast at the free breakfast venue and invited people to just come there and chit chat. So you get to meet new people and you get to enjoy free food. King's Volunteering and King's Climate and Sustainability hosted stalls. So people came to the breakfast who wanted to go and speak with them, offering them like 2 chances in one. So, and that did have a good impact on increasing our attendance. We ultimately reached about 681 staff and students in the first term itself of running this, which was very nice. Very happy to share that. But yeah, that was one of the key challenges and key learnings, I think. We also learned that the space matters. That's the second thing I would say. Where the thing is happening really matters. And like when we were doing some of our interviews to understand how it has impacted the participants, those who attended the writing retreat in their qualitative feedback said that they really enjoyed going outside of London, being in nature, getting an escape from the fast city life. And that genuinely contributed very heavily to their experience of the writing retreat in general. Whereas with the art club, the place we held them in was the Wellbeing Centre at King's. And at the same time as the art club, there was another activity that would happen, which is of the running club. And they would come there, get changed, go for a run, and then come back. So the start and the end timings were very similar. And that led to a lot of noise in that space. Whereas the art club was supposed to be more of a quiet, calm down kind of a time.
I can imagine that would be quite disruptive to the ambience.
And that got noted in our feedback, and people did say that, it kind of put me off from going in the next week. So we're like, okay, that's good to know. So the next time we pick a venue, we pick it accordingly. We check what else is happening there, and we kind of create that environment which is conducive to the aim of the activity. So 2 highlights I'd say is, one, creating awareness can be a challenge, and it's good to make use of existing networks, and to where the activity happens matters.
Okay, that's a really good thing to learn. I think that's quite transferable as well, isn't it? Around if anyone else wants to try and do this, it's good learning. So you said it was launched in 2023.
Yeah.
Still quite new, but have you been able to sort of measure its success at all, in terms of enhancing a feeling of belonging?
Yes, actually, we have been, and that was one of our main goals when we started out with the projects. We wanted to consistently keep monitoring and evaluating it. So we put together some surveys and interviews depending on the different projects. The questions differed a bit depending on the kind of project that was. But overall, we've managed to put together insights from King's Art Club, from the breakfast, and from the writing retreats, and we are in process of putting together some insights from a couple of the other projects that we ran. Some of the key highlights I would say were, like, for the breakfast, for example, like I said, we reached out to 681 people in the very first term of the running of the breakfast, with 74% saying that they felt more connected to the university community. With the art club in the very first term, we had over 50 participants, and 30 of them responded to our surveys saying that they met new people. 90% said they felt more connected, and 80% said that they felt like they belong. And in one of our interviews, we also got some stories of people saying how they made their first painting and they took it to their office. And everyone looked at it and they were like, wow, where did you do that? And it inspired two of their colleagues to go and join the art club as well.
Oh, fab.
Even the writing retreat went very successfully, with a lot of people showing increased sense of belonging in the surveys. And they also said in the qualitative evaluations that it helped them increase their motivation and productivity and helped them feel more confident about writing their dissertations and PhD thesis. The human library also had quite a impactful journey. So far, 2 of the library sessions were run where staff members could go and speak with 2 or 3 selected staff members who would share their lived experience. And it was an opportunity to kind of build an open discussion and conversations that are otherwise considered sensitive to have.
Okay.
And from there, a lot of ideas were generated of potentially what staff need and what could be useful for them. And some actually got implemented. So, for example, in one of the sessions, staff highlighted how it was hard for them to understand the processes of working within King's. So that particular department has now decided to have a new employee session where new starters will get like an induction of how the processes work so that they can familiarize themselves and also connect with other people. So it has had some real like policy changing impact.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is really nice.
So because I saw on your website the human library, and I'm not quite sure what a human library is. Can you just explain?
Sure. So it's like reading a book, but instead of reading a paper book, a person's the book. So what we did with our human libraries, we kind of put together a theme for every session. One was for international staff members. One was for, I can't remember what the other one was for, but there was like different themes for different sessions. And 2 or 3 people would be selected to be the books based on availability and whoever's interested, basically. And then a facilitator came up with a few set of questions to kind of guide the conversation. But essentially, 20, 25 other people would join the library session who would be the readers. And they would ask their questions, contribute to the discussion, create a space for learning from lived experiences. And that ended up to be really nice, opening up conversations that everyone experiences in their life, but it never really gets spoken about in a workspace because you're just focused on so many other things while you're working. Or it might be that you're not sure, is it okay to ask this? Is it not okay to ask this? So that was a complete safe space, facilitated and monitored, where all questions were open and accepted, a respectful environment to just bring our perspectives, learn from each other. And like I said, it had real impact.
Yeah. I think that I can see how that would be useful, just to see that person who now appears to be very accomplished and successful, but actually you get to kind of know how they got there. I can remember talking to my personal advisor, who's a professor or something, and she'd said to me that she almost didn't get on her master's program because of some problem with her dissertation. And I don't see that person, I just see the person who's achieved. So it's really useful to know what people experienced along the way.
And with the human libraries, I think part of the reason why they also became so successful was because the books that we were able to get for the sessions were quite senior level people.
Yeah.
Very senior management roles. Some were like, for example, one of the books was a doctor at the NHS and a professor at King's, having lived in the UK for about like 20 years or so. So
there's a lot there to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in that same session, the other book was a PhD student who had just completed her PhD and moved into working at King's. So she was relatively very new to King's. She was from an Australian background, whereas the other book was from an Iranian background. So there was so much different insights and different conversation under the same umbrella theme of international employees.
Wow, something to be learnt for everyone by the sounds of it. Brilliant. So looking forward, are there any plans for the project? What's coming up?
So currently some of the projects are still running, and hopefully they will all be completed by the end of the academic year. And in terms of future plan, we hope to put together all of these insights and try and align them with the King's Strategy 2030, which is currently being developed to focus on building student experience and how we want it to look in the next 5 to 10 years at King's. We also want to put together, hopefully, some kind of an academic paper to make sure that the conversation reaches to a wider population, academics, institutions, people who are working for student experience and well-being, all these things. And ultimately, the goal is not just to scale these and have more of such events happen at King's, but also to learn from other universities and work as a sector together instead of gatekeeping our ideas. We really hope to kind of share our insights with other universities and gain insights from other universities so that we can move ahead in that challenge of understanding what it means to belong and what our students need, and work as a collective together. So if anyone else, whoever listens to this podcast, is interested in doing some collaborative work, we'd be very happy to collaborate with them and kind of build from the foundations of what our universities have already done.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, Faiza, I think that's the end of my questions for you. It's been really great to learn about what you're doing at King's, facilitating student belonging. Thank you very much for talking to me today.
Thank you. It was lovely speaking with you.
Thank you for listening to the Connected podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out the rest of our extraordinary Voices of Belonging collection and stay connected.